Failure isn't fun. It's never fun to fail. If anything, it's actually quite bad. It sucks, and it feels demoralizing when out of two mutually exclusive options, success and failure, when you fail. And failure comes in different forms. Sometimes it's as simple as you stubbed your toe and now it hurts. That's a failure of walking. But other times it's more complex, like a failure to communicate properly, or a failure to interpret something, or even a failure to perform at something, like a competition or a test or something like that. And it's difficult to fail, honestly. Like, not necessarily to complete the action of failing, but to deal with the consequences and repercussions. Failing is usually resolved, or not resolved, but corresponding with a consequence of some kind, whether that be your toe now hurts because you stubbed it, or an actual academic issue when it comes to university. If you fail an exam, you fail a course, you need the course to graduate, which then if you can't graduate in time, you need to take another year, which then also costs more money, and if you can't afford that, like, it's a whole chain of events, and occasionally it can be overwhelming and not enjoyable at all. But when people say, oh, failure is the best teacher and whatnot, it is, but at the same time, it's difficult to get past that. No one wants to actively continue to practice failing. Oh, by failing constantly, you are constantly improving. Well, then if I'm improving, why am I not succeeding? It's that mentality of if you feel like you're getting stuck with no progress. I've felt that way a lot of times before. When you learn a new topic, but it's not clicking in your head, you do practice questions over and over again, you talk to people about it, you talk to your professors about it, and then all of a sudden you still can't get it right. You feel dumb and you feel like you are failing at the thing you've set out to do. So then why do people say that failure is the best teacher? They say that failure is the best teacher because when you fail, you know what you did wrong. If you succeed, you're not going to change anything about it because the course of action you do is inherently successful. But in that mentality, do you even need teaching if you're not going to be successful in that? I guess when people say that, it's meant to be like a silver lining. It's meant to say, like, it's not all bad. You get something. When you succeed, you get the desired want. But when you fail, you still get something out of it. You still get that information and knowledge and practice towards something that you could succeed in the future. But that's the thing. The end goal is still succeeding. Succeeding at the task is still always the end goal. So why is failure revered in that way? It's why, from personal experience, I have a lot of anxieties around failure. I've had a lot of anxieties about failure too. And while it's a bit subdued now, it's not, I'm more in control and assertive about my own accomplishments and what I can actually do, as well as how I can go about doing tasks. I used to be really scared about the future and really scared about what failure entailed. If I failed a certain test, how would that end up be? What would the end result be? Will people get mad at me? Will I flunk out of school and not be successful? Will I not have a good job and make money, or just be alone? It's like, it's a constant snowball effect of failures over and over again. And that's the foundation of anxiety. It's the fear of the future for these consequences of failure. Failure is both simultaneously revered and feared around the world, and that's what's so interesting about it to me. That people see failure as something that is helpful to some degree by teaching them, but it's also the outcome that no one wants to have outright. It's like what I talked about in my previous video. I'm scared of death because that's a failure to live life. And as silly as that sounds, it's true. By not being alive anymore, I don't get to experience the things I do love, and even when it is difficult, it is still taking what I do love about this world and my life away from me. And sure, there are some things like in life that you do need to succeed at, of course. And when you fail, it does suck, but having that balance is important. Not giving up when you fail means you'll actually eventually succeed. If you give up on anything you fail at first, then you'll never succeed. That's just not going to be possible because you're not taking the chance to do something about it. I have a story to share personally. Being in Canada, of course, through elementary school, we're taught French as a language. And while I'm okay with French now, learning French was very difficult for me. It was not something that clicked in my head. I remember very clearly the story when I'm in grade 4. I'm in the school classroom, you have your homeroom teacher, and this older woman with this this fluffy blonde hair and this giant whiteboard on wheels rolls it into the classroom. And I'm confused, like, this isn't my normal homeroom teacher. And when they started teaching French, I was so confused. I felt with like other topics like math and social studies and English and sciences, I felt like I was doing great. But to be thrown into something that's completely unfamiliar to me, something that just completely is outside of my comfort zone, I failed a lot. I was not good at French in the slightest. And when I didn't put an effort in, I gave up multiple times over. I would just slack off during class or not give a damn about the French learning or anything like that. I failed more because I wasn't putting an effort in and not taking a chance. I never could succeed with that mindset. And it wasn't necessarily because I was scared of the language. I was scared of failing. Everything I was doing before, I was doing super well, but to have the one course where I know I'm bad at, to try again, actually put an effort, but still fail, it wasn't worth it for me. It took until I got to grade 7 and 8, where I was around 13-ish, and a lot was going on in my life for me to realize that I should try this, because even if I'm not good at it now, I can at least work towards it going forward. I could learn the language, and I can do well in class, and eventually succeed. Even these smaller goals of getting like a 60% on the test was huge for me at the time, because it just wasn't clicking with me. I did not understand it at all. And now I look back on it like in this way, where there's a lot of interesting memories about French class and how I did drop it at the minimum age when I was in grade 9, and I do regret that now. I am trying to learn French as is through the funny app of Duolingo, but it's not quite the same as having that foundational knowledge. Learning a language as early as you can is psychologically proven to be more beneficial in terms of retaining that language. It's not going to stop me from continuing to try. It's the act of practice over and over and actually putting yourself out there to make an attempt. That's what I love about trying about things now, and why I don't feel anxious about failure. Sure, larger scale failures are still scary, like having a midterm exam that's worth 33% of your grade, and then failing that's not ideal considering you're paying a lot of money to go to post-secondary. But when it comes to the smaller things too, or your own personal goals, I'm not as scared of failing anymore. I'm not scared of rejection or putting myself out there or actually giving an effort into something that I'm not comfortable with. Because I know there is a chance of success if I put the work in. And even if I fail, as long as I keep trying and take a different approach, I can eventually find success. And that's how I conquered a lot of my anxieties around failures. And while it's not going to be the same for everyone, I hope you at least have some takeaway. Of course, it's good to be cautious and whatnot and understand what the consequences of failing would be, but not being so nervous about the outcome of if you fail, but rather working towards how can I complete the task, instead of the initial mindset being what if I fail. That's been a talk in the park for this week, a bit more of a personal one for myself, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Alright, bye for now.